Today we're going to talk about Chapter 6, Administrative and Traffic Laws. Each state has the laws that control its highway transportation system. The National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration is the national organization or governing body that oversees the states. Each state establishes procedures for issuing or removing people's driver's license, for registering a vehicle, and for securing a title. Other administrative laws cover the financial responsibilities of vehicle owners and drivers and establish standards for the minimum safety equipment and care of the vehicle. In Pennsylvania, you must do a series of things to get your permit and then your license. You must bring all of the designated papers, including the Social Security card and your birth certificate. And typically then that allows you the ability to take both your vision test, which you need to get at least a 20/40 vision out of the test, and your knowledge test, which means that you have to get at least 15 out of 18 correct in order to pass that. From that point, you're issued your permit, and you have a mandatory 6-month waiting period in Pennsylvania, and during that time, you're supposed to acquire 65 hours of driving experience that your parents will eventually sign off on. During that time, it's expected that you start off in a parking lot and then progress to a possible residential area or back road, side road. Eventually you get to rural roads, and then you get into some heavier traffic that has intersections and stop signs and traffic lights, merging situations like Peach Street. And then eventually you'll get into some city driving, hopefully. And after that, you take a turn on the expressways. And from that point, you'll also need to learn how to parallel park. Once you have those 65 hours, including in that time, you should also get some poor weather driving, at least 5 hours. That shouldn't be a problem around here. And also you should have 10 hours of night driving, which is much different. So you definitely want to experience there with your parents before you try to do all those things on your own. Once you have those 65 hours and you've learned how to parallel park, then you are ready for your road test. Okay, you should know these terms. Suspension. States reserve the right to suspend, revoke, and penalize licensed drivers for listed infractions. So do the local towns and municipalities if needed. Suspensions are to temporary elimination or eliminate driving privileges due to a violation. During a suspension, can vary depending on the severity of the violation. Underage drinking can give you a 90-day suspension. Most infractions are, when you're talking about suspensions, are typically going to be anywhere from 30 to 90 days. But it's always fewer than a year. When you talk about a year, we're getting into license being revoked. So states reserve the right to revoke a license and strip the powers of operating a motor vehicle. Typically, that is for a year. A revoked license takes the license away, and the duration depends on the severity of the violation. When the revoked period has passed, the driver must reapply for another license. In Pennsylvania, if you refuse to take a breathalyzer test, it's an automatic 1-year suspension or revoked license. So you would have to reapply. That's very severe, so never refuse to do that. Typically, if there is some type of drinking and driving, typically that is only a 90-day suspension. So it's never in your best interest to refuse a breathalyzer test. Okay, in Pennsylvania and most states, there is a point system. Suspension and revoked license depend on the point system in a lot of cases. Excessive points in your license can lead to surcharges imposed by the state and your insurance companies. Pretty much all of moving violations are going to be a minimum of 3 points. Some things can bring the severity of up to 6 points. If you're going more than 26 miles over the posted speed limit, you can get 6 points automatically on your license. Once you accumulate 6 points, you might have to get your license suspended for a period of time, and you might have to take another driving and safety course. In a lot of cases, you're spending quite a bit of money on fines, costs, and restitutions that might come with that. Examples of point-earning infractions include DUIs, collisions, or some type of moving violations. Your certificate of title. That's the title that proves you own your car. It lists the following: the name of the owner, the make and style of the vehicle, the VIN number, which is the vehicle identification number, the engine number. This document must be presented when attempting to sell a car, and if buying a car, you should always ask to see the title to ensure that the vehicle does belong to the person who claims ownership. Therefore, the document should be kept in a very safe place. So once you transfer the title, you get a notary to sign over the title to you. Then you are in control of that certificate of title, and then you should put that in a safety deposit box or a safe place where you know exactly where it is. Okay, so it's proof of ownership of the vehicle, certificate of title. A vehicle registration reveals who is responsible for operating the vehicle. When a car is registered, you will receive a registration certificate and license plates. Okay, your vehicle registration must be re-registered every year in Pennsylvania, not every two, every year in Pennsylvania. Keep the registration of the vehicle it belongs to and the place the correct registration stickers on the license plates are legally required. It's also required to have that right on your windshield in Pennsylvania, and you want to make sure that that is up to date. Excuse me, that's your inspection sticker. You have to have your inspection sticker on your windshield, and obviously those two kind of go hand in hand. So you should pretty much do those on a yearly basis. You must get your car inspected, and you also must get it re-registered on a yearly basis. Insurance. You must have auto insurance in order to drive. It pays some of the bills when you crash and is required in all states, including Pennsylvania and New York. Insurance offsets the cost of a collision by paying a portion of the damages for your car, as well as the other person involved in the crash if you are found liable. Costs could include death, injury, or property damage. Okay, to add a little bit to insurance, you must have at least liability coverage in Pennsylvania. Everyone must have that. So that is the minimum coverage that you need to have that protects you if you're involved in an accident. So most people do go into their parents before they're 18. It is much cheaper to get on your parents' insurance. And they're still basically responsible for you, so their insurance rates could go up until you're 18 either way. Once you're 18, it's pretty much up to them whether they'll let you be on your insurance, and you're going to pay more for car insurance at that point once you have to be on your own. So, but it is required to have car insurance in Pennsylvania. Shop around and make sure that you do get a good deal. Okay, there's a lot of things that you can do to lower your car insurance, including taking driver's ed, and also having AB average. That also helps. So that can save you as much as 15 to 17% on your car insurance. Right-of-way rules. The right-of-way rules can improve traffic flow, minimize confusion, avoid collisions, identify liability, and decrease emotional driving. It is very important that you know your right-of-way rules. The rules are not state mandated and are consistent. They're not always consistent throughout the United States, but we're going to go over what you need to know in Pennsylvania. You can avoid a collision by knowing who should go first and who should wait. To do this, you need to know the rules that govern the right-of-way. Right-of-way laws in every state are based on the Uniform Vehicle Code. Every state has a vehicle code, which are vehicle laws recommended by a national committee and used in part by the states. Okay, so basically the right to proceed first is the right-of-way. Okay, yield the right-of-way to any emergency vehicle, such as ambulances, that has a siren or flashing red lights. If you are going in the same direction as an emergency vehicle, move to the right as far as possible and stop. If you are traveling in the opposite direction, move to the far right also. You do not have to stop in this case, but always move all the way over to the right. If you can, just basically get out of the way. If they're coming, let them go through. You always must yield to any type of school bus. Okay, if a school bus has its flashing reds on, you must come to a complete stop. anywhere near that school bus. Even crossing the street in front of it, you should not. You should never cross past the school bus from front or behind. Okay, that is something that could get you a lot of points on your license, and also cost you a major fine, and also you're putting students in danger. So never pass a school bus with its red lights on. Yield to people who are blind and carrying a white cane or a guide dog, regardless of whether they are crossing the street, leading a guide dog. Okay, yield the right of way to all pedestrians at all times. Okay, when it comes to a four-way stop, who has the right of way? The basic answer to that question is whoever gets there first has the right of way. If you arrive at the same time as someone else, always yield to the vehicle to the right. That means knowing when you are on the right of someone else as well. Then if you're on the right of someone, yield to them. Okay. If there's a vehicle coming from the opposite direction, the person going straight has the right of way. So if someone is turning left, you are always last when you are making a left-hand turn. Always. Okay. Always yield to a pedestrian. Okay, never assume that the other people at the intersection are giving you the right of way. Always wait to assess the situation. Okay, not everyone knows the right of way rules. Not everyone follows the right of way rules. It's good that you know them so you know when you're in the right, but at the same time, understand that people will not always follow them. Okay, this is an example of a four-way stop. As you can see, car A, B, and C are getting to the stop four ways. Every single intersection has a stop sign here. So in that case, car A, who, if they're going forward, would actually be able to go first because they arrived at the intersection first. Then car B, if car B and C got there at the exact same time, okay, car B would go next, and then car C. Car A is also to the right of B, and car B is also to the right of C. That's why. So it's the person that arrives first, then the person to the right. If all four people were to get there at the exact same time, then you'd have to communicate with hand signals. Okay, speed limits. Speed limits are assigned to all roadways and posted to protect all drivers. Traffic engineers study road conditions, traffic patterns, and collision frequency to assess the appropriate speed limits for each road. Posted speed limits are not regulations demanding that you drive the speed on that road. Speed limits express the maximum speed at which you should travel under the best weather and road conditions. So there are times when you should drive below the posted speed limit. Okay, types of speed limits. Fixed speed limits. They're the main ones that you see, the white speed limit signs. They're the maximum minimum speed that a vehicle may drive on a particular road. Fixed speed limits do not change and they must be obeyed. Typically, the white signs that you see are the maximum speed limits. You should not go above them. Okay, there's talk on our discussion board about, can you go over, are you absolutely allowed to go over the speed limit? Are you allowed to go 5 miles over? In most cases, police officers will give you those 5 miles of grace, but they don't have to. They could pull you over for going 1 mile over the speed limit. Whether that holds up in court is another thing, but you should travel the speed limit or underneath it. Advisory speed limits. These are the yellow signs that you'll see a lot of times on curves or expressways, on-ramps, that kind of thing, that informs drivers to interrupt their current driving speed for a limited time. This is due to roads going up and down hills, over bridges, and around sharp curves. So that's advising you to slow down your speed because of the curve. Day and night speed limits. I haven't seen a lot of them around here, but they do exist. Sometimes they'll post a night driving speed at a lower speed because it's more dangerous because of visibility. They should have night speed limits around here because of all the issues that we do have at night. Okay, fixed speed limits. Looks kind of like that, a white sign. Okay, this is an example of an advisory speed limit. Typically, the signs are yellow and they look just like that. So, but a lot of times that's a digital one. A lot of times it's just a yellow sign. It might have a curve underneath it of some kind. Typically the curve's on top of it and the speed limit is underneath it, advising you the speed to go. Okay, this is an example of a speed limit. The Rocky Mountains, looks like it, where it's 55 miles per hour during the day and then 45 at night. Okay, the basic speed law, basically states that always drive at a speed that is responsible and appropriate for the existing conditions. Your ability to manage visibility, time, and space also determines what a safe speed is at any given time. Basically, you have to have your car under control in all situations. You can't be swerving, you can't be screeching your tires, you can't go around corners where you're fishtailing. Okay, so the weather doesn't permit you to go at the posted speed limit. You should go at a speed that you can control it based on the road conditions, the weather, the amount of traffic that's on the road, and also how well you can see, your vision ability, the light that's available. It's never okay to be going swerving in and out of traffic. You always must have your vehicle under control at all times. So perfect example right here. People are going to be sliding all over the roads, very difficult in these situations. You want to make sure that you drive at an appropriate speed where you can keep your car under control. And it's not easy when you've got whiteout conditions, ice all over the road, people swerving in front of you. So you really want to slow down your speed. Obviously, snow tires and switching into a lower gear is also very important. Going into low 1 or 2 as opposed to drive, you are not going to be able to go as fast, but you'll also get much better traction. And we'll talk at length about snow tires when we get to that chapter. Okay, road conditions. Be aware when there's water or oil or leaves on the road. They're going to give you traction issues. Okay, so in those situations, you should see it, you should be aware of it, and you should slow your speed to make sure that you have enough time to stop. And if the light conditions are very, very poor, you want to make sure that you slow your speed also. Your bright lights will help in these situations, but you never want to be in a situation where if it's pitch black dark, that you are over driving your headlights. Okay, 45 miles an hour is about the maximum speed that you want to go in these conditions, because you will not be able to see very far, even with your bright lights, if it's pitch black like this. Okay, drivers can be cited for traveling below or above the posted speed limits if conditions permit. So if a police officer sees you swerving on the road out of control, they can pull you over and issue a ticket even if you're going under the speed limit if you don't have control of your car. Okay, this is a note. You should know the statistic that more than half of all fatal crashes occur with people going over 55 miles per hour. Driving faster than the posted speed limit is never safe or reasonable. The following facts reveal critical information about speed. So here's some things that you need to know. The higher the speed, the less time the driver has to spot dangerous situations and take action. So you're going to run out of time if you're going at too fast of speeds. You basically are not able to make decisions quick enough to be able to maneuver your vehicle. The greater the time and distance it takes to change direction or stop a vehicle, the faster your speed is going, and the greater chance the vehicle will skid or roll over on a turn. In addition, the greater chances of collision, personal injuries, and also property damage. All of these things are true. Traction is an issue. Curves, it's going to be much more difficult to take a curve if you're going at high speeds, much easier to flip a car or to fishtail and go off the road. So you're putting yourself at added risk with high speeds. And not to mention, the fatality rates are extremely high when people do go excessive speeds. So keep that in mind also. You can save some lives if everybody goes the correct speed. Okay, if you are involved in a collision, okay, there's some steps that need to be done. I'm going to add a few things to this list. Okay, the first thing you should do is you must stop at a scene. You never want to be involved in a hit and run. That is a felony. Okay, if you are involved in the collision, you must stop. That means you will go to jail. You can go to jail if you were to ever leave the scene of an accident. Don't have to have damage to your own vehicle to be involved. You must stop if you are directly or indirectly cause a collision. Even if you were to bump into someone at a parking lot, you are supposed to leave. At least try to make an attempt to find the individual, and if you can't, you should leave a note with your phone number on the vehicle. Put it right on the windshield so that you show it. I would even take a picture of that to show and prove that you did. Never leave the scene of an accident unless directed to do so by law enforcement or emergency personnel. So if it's anything serious or severe for more than any type of little fender bender, you want to make sure that you do file a police report. The best thing to do is to call the police in that situation and tell them that you feel threatened, and then they will come to the scene. Okay, because they won't always come to the scene if you just say you're involved in an accident. Say you don't feel comfortable, and when you get there, tell them that your parents said in a situation like this you should always call the police. In a hit and run situation, leaving the scene or failing to stop following a crash is a felony crime. We've already talked about that, so I want to expand on that. Do not have to stop at the exact spot of a collision. Okay, if it's not safe right directly where the vehicle collision occurred, it's okay to move up a little bit, put your car in a safe place, put your hazard lights on if they're still working, okay, and then go back and find out what's going on, and make sure everybody's okay. Very important that you never admit fault in this situation. The correct thing to say is, hey, is everyone okay? Are you all right? And then you want to do as much as you can in that situation to make sure that you get all the information that is necessary. Okay. Warning others. Mark the crash scene with flares if you have them. Emergency triangles or other warning devices. Place them about 100 to 500 feet between the vehicles involved in the crash, so ahead of the crash. The higher the speed of traffic, the further back they should be to give people time to react and to slow down. If you don't have any of these, open the hood of your vehicle. Use a flashlight or bright colored clothing, if possible, if you have that. Giving aid. Most people who die in collisions might otherwise live if they were to get medical help of some kind. So if you know first aid, CPR, jump that into action immediately. But even if you don't, do anything you could possibly do to help someone. Depending on the side of the crash, emergency medical could take a while. So you want to provide care to the injured only if you feel comfortable doing so. Don't hesitate if you are the only person available. The Good Samaritan law does protect you, those who try to give first aid in emergency situations, from being liable for injuries or fatalities that they may cause or assist in causing because of the quality of the first aid administered. In some jurisdictions, doing nothing is a punishable offense. Laws have changed a little bit since then. However, if you are comfortable, you should help. Don't do anything that you would cause additional harm. Obviously, if you know first aid or CPR in that situation, you should put it into effect. Okay, calling for help. Use your cell phone. Call 911. No cell phone or radio. Try to find a payphone. Be prepared to tell the dispatcher your name, phone number, what happened, number of victims, exact location of the crash. Use landmarks, distance markers, highway markers if needed, cross street, off ramps, any geographical features to identify where you are. Okay, stay on the line until help arrives or the dispatcher says it's okay to get off. And then if the vehicle is undrivable, call a towing service. Okay, the other thing you should do, you should take as many pictures as you possibly can with a disposable camera that you should have stored in your glove compartment or somewhere else. Okay, any pictures that you take on your cell phone are not admissible in court. Okay, so make sure that you use a whole roll. Take as many scenes of all the collision places, the skid marks on the roadway. Take pictures of their car, inside their car, their license plate, their registration. Okay, take as many pictures as you possibly can. The person themselves, especially if they're walking and they're okay, take a picture of that. Also, if there are any witnesses, okay, make sure that you have them write down exactly what happened, okay, with a pen, okay, not a pencil. Pencils are not admissible in court. It should be a pen. They could say exactly what happened on a pen and make sure they write it. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but at least you have it if it does help you. Okay. Also, if you write things down, make sure you start the letter with the term "Dear Attorney." Okay, dear attorney, that then it becomes 100% completely private. It's between you and your attorney. Okay, those are all things you should do. And again, never admit fault in those situations. Just make sure that everybody is okay. Okay, exchanging information. Exchange names, addresses with the driver and passengers, vehicle registration number, license plate number, and driver's license. Probably easiest if you just take a picture of all that stuff with your camera. Insurance information should also be exchanged. If no information is available, get what you can, remain calm, don't yell and argue. Again, take photos of the crash with your disposable camera. Make it easier to recall what happened in those situations, and also get as much information as you possibly can. Okay, if you have any type of pain whatsoever, really you should see a doctor no matter what, because you could have some type of internal bleeding. If it's a major collision, be sure to see your own doctor. Some injuries do not appear right away. Be safe and get yourself checked out thoroughly. Okay, that's everything for chapter 6, and we'll talk to you soon.